Yeah, we are starting, and the class is on recording, and I want to officially welcome everyone. So thank you for joining tonight's session. We are going to be discussing risk management and key method of or tools we can use for effective risk management. We don't play around when it comes to risk in project management. The reason why we are being paid is to minimize the risk, because there's a lot of uncertainties in projects. So what makes us different from other project managers? Because anybody is a project manager. As long as you can organize and coordinate and deliver an activity, you have managed the project. But the difference between that quack project manager who doesn't have any training and you who is a professional project manager is the approach you handle things like risk. So these are the reasons. If you check out, maybe in Nigeria it's not that so popular, but here in UK, insurance is a very popular thing here in UK and other parts of the world. This another way of risk management in that kind of process. We call it transfer of risk. You're transferring the risk to another person or another organization that will handle the risk. Yeah, but before we try to start transferring risk or doing anything, the first thing is to understand risk and understand how to capture risk, identify risk, classify risk before we start thinking of, are we going to start owning this risk? Are we going to start transferring this risk? How do we handle this risk? Trying to get insurance at this point, we call it mitigation plan. We're already planning on how to handle the risk, but how do we even understand if we have a risk? How do we capture risk? Everything is not a risk, so we must understand what is risk. So that is why we have to look at it. And there's a tool called RAID. RAID is an acronym for R is for the risk, and A in the RAID is for assumption, I is for issues, and D is for dependencies. These are all the factors that is surrounded the risk. Risk can come from any of these areas, and that's why we want to use this elaborate tool or technology to manage a risk. Well, we equally have another tool for simple, that is the simplest tool for capturing projects risk. We call it risk register. You register a risk, but at this point, you're only registering a risk. But in the other one called RAID, you register not only risk, you register dependencies, you register issues, and you register assumptions. Okay, let's examine it further from our notes. Can you see my notes? You can see my screen, you say yes. If you cannot see my screen, you say no.
Yes,
Yes,
we
I
can
can
see
see your
it.
screen, sir.
I can see
Okay.
it.
Yes, I can see it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No need. So yes, carry the votes. Yeah. Good. Okay, this is what you are seeing here is a screenshot of what we call risk register.
What are you doing?
Risk register. In risk register, we try to understand the risk. First, you can see its risk description, when you capture a risk, the impact of the risk, the impact level, have impact level, have priority, will have probability and priority, and then mitigating notes, and then owner. So when you are trying to use a risk register, there are key things we are looking at. We are no longer classifying it under rate because it's already one factor here, which is risk. The only way you can try to is the level. Please, someone is not on mute and is reflecting on our sound system. So we look at impact, probability, priority, mitigation, and owner. You see, I don't like using simple risk register. Project is beyond just risk. What of issues? Are we going to then avoid issues? Are we going to avoid dependencies, assumptions? So this is why we are not going to use risk register, but it's important you know that there's a tool in risk management called risk register. We are going to use a bigger tool called RAID log. Yeah. And this is where this is the tool we're going to be using throughout our project discussion, both on training and in our live project. We're going to be using RAID. But know that there is a tool called risk register. So RAID log, this is how a RAID log is. And you see in RAID log, if you come to a RAID log, you see RAID category. So RAID, under RAID, you can capture it as issue. You can equally go down, capture it as assumption. You can then capture it as a risk, and then you can capture it as dependency as well. And whichever one you capture, you must describe the RAID. Whether it's issue or risk, you must describe it. You must equally describe the impact and the owner. A risk within your project team, you must assign it to owner. Owner is somebody that will be in charge of managing the risk till you close the risk. And then we'll have priority. You must prioritize a risk, whether it's low, whether it's critical, whether it's high, whether it's moderate, whether it's negligible. You prioritize a risk and equally have risk probability number. So you must, in some cases, not a must, yeah, but you must prioritize a risk. And then you must show a status of the risk at all time. A status of the RAID, not risk, RAID, because RAID comprises of both risk and others. So you must show the status of the RAID, whether it's open or closed. You must keep it open unless it is resolved. If you're having any challenges, that becomes a risk. You cannot close it until a solution is found and address the issue. Once it is addressed, then you can close it. So why is it? It helps us to understand how healthy our project is looking. If your stakeholder calls you for a meeting and want to understand the health of the project, and they will always demand for your RAID log. Once they go through your RAID log, they will see how many RAID have you captured, how many of them are open, how many of them are critical. If you happen that you capture 5 RAID and all the 5 RAID, they are all critical, then your project is in a very bad shape. Critical, you see, once it's critical, it's going to be red. So critical and high is something a project manager should try as much as possible to resolve it as quickly as possible. If you find yourself in a situation, you must resolve it and close it immediately, because it can trigger to something that you might not be able to control and affecting the project negatively. Then we have, under the RAID, we have a dashboard. Dashboard of the RAID. This is how it looks like. So you see under risk here, this is RAID dashboard. You see risk, you see critical, high, moderate. So everything you captured on your log is going to appear here on the dashboard. And with a glance, someone will know what is happening. If everything is critical, you can see red, 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 then you are in a very big situation. But if it's negligible or low, yeah, but if it's red, you must try as much as possible to walk around it and close it. It's not a good situation in project management. Okay, this is if you because what I'm showing you guys here is screenshots. So this is a live RAID. This is a live RAID template we can be using, which I will share with you at the end of this project. Another souvenir for you. So this is it. This is the RAID log. So this is where you capture the RAID. For instance, here, if you identify something, a RAID, you come down, you must classify it, categorize it as either is a risk, or either is an issue, or assumption, or dependency. So you must classify it as well. You see now I've changed it to assumption. I can equally change it and put it as an issue. And I can equally put it as dependency. And I can go back and put it back to risk. So, and you have to describe, if you capture it as a risk, you have to describe it, data migration failure from legacy. And impact, loss of critical customer and lead. And owner, IT manager. And priority is critical. It's critical, so you can select. If it's not critical, you can say it's high. If it's not, you can say it's moderate. And can equally say it's low. Or you can say it's negligible, so it's not something to lose a sleep over. You can go back to critical. And there's what we call PRN for risk. So if you see it here, when you want to understand, there's what we call severity. Severity, and we'll have likelihood, and we have detectability. So you capture them. Then as we go down our notes, you see how we do the arithmetic. So when you times all this, it give you the RPM, so you understand where it is. If it is above, most of the time 50, then it means it's a serious situation. or if it's below 50, so if it's above 25, it's a serious case. And if it's below 25, yeah, it cannot be. So you can only put it on critical if it's above 25. So that's the way we come about the priority. So the priority number. Yeah. And then anytime you've resolved the RAID, whether it's a risk, whether it's an assumption, whether it's an issue, if you resolve it, come here and close it. Don't leave it open. If we are still trying to work around to get a solution, we continue to leave it open. And if a stakeholder comes in here and see that all these are, we have a lot, all of them are, let's say, critical. This one critical, and this one high critical, and all of them are open. The stakeholder might just pee on his or her pants small, because this should say wahala full ground. You know, when you come say, what's it called, carry me go hire this man? Say, I don't finish you. Everything is on red. You know, so they don't like to see a situation like that. Everything is on critical, and they are open. It means that you are not even walking around to solve the problem. They don't want to see a situation like this. They will just call an emergency meeting on for you, whether to replace you or find out what's really going on. Yeah, it's not that you can't capture criticals. Yeah, you can, but you must try as you can, you and your team, to work hard to resolve it and close it. So just like this one, once it's closed, you can see it's changing, showing green means at least. So it doesn't matter if you capture critical situation, but it might not be your fault. But the effort you are putting in to close it, is that what they want to see? So if it's happen this way, and they see it, what they will say, they'll call you a meeting and find out, how did you manage to navigate all this? How did you have? They will want to know what happened, how you managed to. So, but this is how to capture, use this tool called RAID log to capture project RAID. Project RAID, we call it RAID. We are not talking about risk alone, because it's beyond risk. Let's see assumptions. How assumption can be related to risk. Assumptions are situations we assume that is supposed to happen. Assumptions that, yeah, we assume we are supposed to close these projects in 3 months. That is an assumption. We are assuming to close it in, yeah. If anything happens and this assumption fails, it is going to push us to a big risk, becoming a risk. And if we don't manage it very well, it's going to lead us to issue. So risk is a situation that is capable of derailing our projects. Then issue here is a risk that has happened already. It has happened. It's no longer a risk. Now, if it's within, you have 3 months to work on a project, to implement, or 3 months, that's what you have for that project, and 2 weeks to the project, you find out that you cannot finish that project within the 3 months. You have a lot still. You try to do overtime, you try to even work on Saturday and Sundays, but you find out there is still a lot of activity that need to be done. You try everything, you find out it's not happening. Within the 2 weeks, you have already spotted it. That is now a risk. You might not, looking at everything is glaring that you might not be able to finish. You can then capture it as a risk. Even 1 month ahead and you evaluate, you find out there is so much delays. You already capture it as a risk to find a way. And within that time, you start, how do I close this? How do I complete this project within 3 months? You say, okay, I know what to do. Now you are going to make out, maybe you have a contingency fund. This is time for you to go to a contingency fund and start pulling it out. You say, guys, we are going to be, if you guys are working 9 to 5, you tell them going forward, we are going to be working 9 to 6, or we are going to be working 9 to 8, or 9 to 9. You see, you guys are now doing 12 hours shifts. After doing 12 hours shifts, you find out that it might not still be enough. You call your guys a meeting. Guys, you see, that 9 hours shift, you are now going to start paying them overtime for staying up to beyond their normal standard hour. If you find out that 12 hours shift is still not enough, you can just say, okay, I'll call a meeting, guys. You guys see, we still have a lot to do. Please, I want you guys to be coming on Saturdays. I'll be paying you guys double. And that's the way. This is mitigation plan. You've already put on a mitigation plan. You are working on your plan to resolve this risk. That's what we call mitigation strategy. Planning to. Now, after that, and you find out that seriously, you cannot, on that particular, just like few days a week, you already know that you have a 1 month workload cannot be done within 1 week. You capture it as issue. It has happened. Yeah, that is how it has happened. So it becomes an issue. It becomes that all you need to do at this point, start pushing for extension of time. So that is the only thing that can be a mitigation strategy for this particular issue. You see, the mitigation strategy for risk is different. When it was risk, you use overtime, you even work weekend. These are ways. This is we're trying to handle this risk so that it will not happen. But once it's happened, all you are now looking for extension. A project that is supposed to complete in 3 months, you are now begging them to give you 1 extra month. You know, that is it. And if we come to dependency are activities that are depending on others. If I am depending on, for instance, if I'm working as a team now and I'm depending for Chidera to send a link, it's the Chidera's duty to send a link, a lesson link. And Chidera did not send it on time. I find out Chidera slept off, forgot to send the link. I do not have the capacity to send. My own is just to instruct, and I must follow the link. And Chidera did not send the link. Now, I'm depending on Chidera's activity before I can do my own work. Anything, any mistake on Chidera's side automatically will have a knock-on effect, which is going to affect me. And that is becoming a risk, and it can equally trigger to an issue. So that's why we capture activities surrounding this area, because all of them are capable of causing a harm to your project. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's fire on. Hey, I'll go back to my lesson notes. This is the template we're going to be using. So at least know how you must have understand how to use this template. It has, if you come here, look here, we have two sheets here. One is the log. This is the log, and this is what you see red log. But the red log equally have got a dashboard. So the second sheet here is the dashboard. Both of them are integrated together. Now, whatever you capture here, you see here I've closed all the red here. If you come to the dashboard, you see that everything is zero, and everything here is zero, because I've closed everything. If I come back here and open everything, let me open all of them now. I'll open all the red, and you see. So if you go back to our dashboard, you see that all those zeros will turn to something. So you see here is, see, we have three critical risks. We have one assumption, we have one issue, have one dependency. Totally, we have 6 red here. You see it here. That's it, and that's it. So that's it, all the template, and it's very easy to monitor you or monitor your work. This is the health. If you want to see, let's say, health tracker. I call health tracker of a project. This is how they can be monitoring how healthy a project is. So let's go back and let's go through our lesson notes. So risk management is the process of identifying, assessing, and mitigating potential risks that could negatively impact on a project. It is an essential practice in project management to minimize uncertainties and ensure project success. By managing risk proactively, project team can avoid or reduce issues. You see, when you manage risk, it's going to reduce issues that could derail project's objective, timeline, or budget. Managing risk reduces issues. Issues is the main thing we are trying to, don't want to have any issue. This is the main thing we're trying to avoid, because issue can derail project objective, timeline, or budget. Risk management component will have risk identification, that is spotting potential risks that could affect the project. Risk assessment, evaluating the impacts and likelihood of the risk. And risk mitigation, planning response to minimize the risk impact. Risk monitoring, continuously tracking and managing the risk thoroughly or throughout the project. You see, all these key components here, they're important. How do you do all this? We have a dedicated meeting called RAID meeting. It's a statutory meeting. So there is no, you don't set calculator or any kind of automation to capture and manage risk. There's no automation that does that. But the way is the way we'll be doing it is we have a meeting called RAID meeting. The statutory meeting we'll have once every week. During the RAID log, we are going to look at all the factors or every aspect of our project. We go to our timeline, we go to our budget, we look at all our dependencies. Do we have any delay? These are things we are going to be looking, we call it brainstorming, we brainstorm. So if the project manager, there are some things you already know, which we are going to start talking about. You set up a meeting and you find out that one team member has not been attending meeting. He refused to attend meeting twice. You know, that is a signal. How is the person not attending meeting going to cope knowing what is going on? Another one, you find out that one team member has been submitting his or her deliverable late. It has caused delays in so many occasions. That is another trigger. Is a light. Spotlight, you are already indicator light, saying that this is a risk. These are the kind of things you capture. Delays, potential delays. You look at potential delays. You look at all your critical area. There's what we call critical paths. We're going to look at critical path when we start project planning. You look at the critical path. These are areas you see, we try to identify. Where is the critical path? Where are the dependencies? If you go to project plan, you will see all the dependencies. Where are we having delay in our dependencies? Are we having delays? All the critical parts. You start, this is where you are going to be looking at. That is the area you are going to be identifying potential risk, delays. Then assessment, evaluating the likely of that risk. If during the meeting and there is delays, you have constant delays, you know that these delays happen twice, is now becoming critical because it's already causing that you can, even if you want to have overnight extra hours or even work weekend, due to the delay, is already piling up. That's becoming high or is triggering to critical. So these are some of the risks can be critical. Another one area you can look at critical is something that can affect the whole team members. That is another area, something critical. So these are areas to look at criticality of a risk. How many people are going to be affected, or how many people is affected. For instance, let's use something like internet. You people come to work and the internet goes off. If internet goes off, it's almost affecting everybody. Like these days, if I have internet issue in my house here now, if my son goes down to our internet hub and switch it off, it's not going to only affect me here, it's going to affect all of us in this project here. It's going to affect other activities. So you can see that some of you are depending on me. So if anything happens on my internet, it has triggered. So all of you are not going to be having your lessons as well. Maybe you are relying on this risk management to even do something in your office. You find out that this has really affected a lot of people. That's all. We evaluate risk and understand the impact. That is the impact. You know, we equally understand, try to understand the likelihood of the risk. So the impact is one major thing we don't want to. If impact is high, we are going to work as quickly as possible to resolve it. If impact is low, we might want to take a bit of time to resolve, but high impacts will attract quick resolution, quick response. But if it's only one person, for instance, let's see a team member, one of the team members, the laptop crashed. So while the project manager is trying, or Scrum Master is trying to get another laptop for him or her, he's just a team member. Others can continue to do their work. It's not like internet that will come and affect everybody in the place of work. And then risk mitigation. When a risk has happened, planning response to minimize the risk impact. Mitigation. Some of these risks that can have high impact, we plan response. We put a lot of mitigation plan in place. For instance, in my place of work, we have what we call proxy server, proxy internet server. We know that the main internet source can just be affected. It can go down. It has happened so many times and we didn't even feel the impact. All we need to do is that once the main server, internet server goes down, everybody migrates to proxy server. And to migrate to the proxy server is just a switch of button, something like that. So that is how to plan a response to minimize such impact. Something like a team member, a laptop crashed. If you're a project manager, you make sure that we have spare laptops in the storeroom at all times. So if such a thing happens, all you just go to the office or storeroom, sign one to the team member, and you continue doing his or her work. And that's it. And you continue to monitoring and managing the risk thoroughly. You need to continue to, these are what we are there to do, as a monitoring situations. Even the ones you've managed, you need to make sure that it's not reoccurring. So continuous monitoring is extremely important. Okay, let's look at tools. We already talked about tools earlier on this, and they'll have tools here. We have red log, and we'll have a risk register. And risk register, okay, let's start from RID. RID stands for Risk Assumption Issue Dependency. RID is a simple, organized document that tracks these four critical elements. So these critical elements providing a holistic view of project threats and considerations. So here is it: risk, potential events that may negatively impact the project. Assumptions made at the start of the project that could impact outcome of the project. So what are some of the assumptions we made when we're starting the project? We say we have £10,000 for the implementation. Sorry. For the implementation. And we assume that the £10,000 is going to be enough. So that is assumption. So that is what we agreed. We assume it's going to be enough until COVID-19 come and everywhere was shut down. So there's no way that £10,000 can still go because of this unforeseen circumstance. So that is assumption. So assumption, things can happen to the assumptions and it become a risk and eventually become an issue. Okay, issue here are current problems that need immediate attention. So when it drifts from risk, you can manage it, it becomes issue. Dependencies, other project tasks or resources that could that the project relies on. Like I said, I used me and Chidera. If Chidera don't put a meeting link, it might affect me because I will not have the link to have my class. So everything that is involved, dependencies, you can maybe during a meeting, we're expecting somebody important in that meeting. If the person do not attend the meeting, it means the meeting might be jeopardized. You see, everybody is depending on that particular person. These are dependencies. Tasks, like I said, once we schedule our tasks in project planning, we will see which one that depends on one another. So when I'm working on a project, some documents need to be produced in order for another document to be carried on. For instance, I've told you guys about project charter. There are things that need to be done before we can have our project charter. Yeah. If we don't have a business case needs to be approved before we can start drafting our project charter, because we need to agree on a solution to implement before it becomes a project. So it means that project charter is depending on the outcome of the business case. If business case is delayed, means the project charter document is going to be delayed as well. So these are dependencies. And a lot of things depend on delays. So we are very conscious on the project delays. Okay, risk register. When we talk about risk register, is a more focused tool dedicated only for tracking risk within the project. Risk. Or like you have already seen in RAID that projects management is beyond just tracking risk, because there's a lot. We need to find out where is this risk coming from? Where is the risk coming from? What is leading us to the risk and what is going to be the outcome of the risk? So dependencies, assumptions can lead us to risk. Risk can lead us to issues. So we can't ignore them. But in risk here, they are focused only on risk. So it details risk, its potential impact, likelihood, mitigation plan, and status. Key section in risk register will have risk ID. It must have a unique identifier, description, a brief description of the risk category. You must categorize the risk on technicalities, financial and operational as kind of a types of risk, likelihood, probability of the risk occurring, impact, severity of the risk, potential impact, mitigation plan, steps to prevent or reduce the risk, risk owner, individual responsible for managing the risk, and status. It has to be either open or close. Open or close. This in progress is can be, but if it's open, it's open. It's open, it's open. There's not like in progress, so just open or close. It's open or it's closed. So yeah. So and how to use risk red lot or risk register. Identify risk and other elements by, I told you guys about red meeting. There is no, I said there is no automation, because some of us will think that everything will automate everything and everything start happening like magic. That we'll do automation to automate the risk process, to automate the... Yes, there's a lot we can automate, but there's so many things we cannot automate at this point. So we do brainstorming, begin by brainstorming possible risk within the project team and consider potential issues across all project area. Document assumptions to clarify expectations that may later affect the project outcome. List issues that have already impacted the project. Record dependencies that may affect project timeline and deliverables. So once you have all these key assumptions, what are the assumptions? All you need a big list of assumptions. I gave you people a few assumptions, like we assume that this project will end in 4 months. We assume that this project budget will just be £10,000. So brainstorm all the assumptions. And if there's anyone that's already happened, you classify it as it's already there, it has happened. And then record all dependencies. Once you create a project plan, you are going to see a lot of dependencies you are going to record within your risk, and you start working on them. Assess the risk. For each risk, evaluate likelihood, low, medium, and high. Impact, example, minimum, moderate, severity, and prioritize risk based on their potential to affect project adversely. Like I told you guys, how many people are going to be affected? If you're going to avoid a team, if you come to an organization, if we have a situation, a risk that's going to avoid one person, yeah, we can just call it moderate risk. Then if we have another thing or another risk that's going to affect a project team or just a unit, a team in the organization, or let's say department, we can call it high. Then, but if you have another risk that is going to affect the whole organization, like the internet, when the internet goes off, it's not going to affect only sales department, it's not going to affect only marketing department, it's not going to affect only human resources department, it's not going to affect only accounting and finance. It's not only one department, it's going to affect everybody in the organization. And that kind of risk, we capture it as critical risk, because it can shut the company down and the company will start losing. Some company, when they shut down for one day, they can lose up to $1 billion, depending on the activity. So something like Facebook, when the Facebook shut down, can cost the world, billions of dollars. So that's how you assess. And then once you've done your assessment, you develop a plan, and we'll call it mitigation plan. Outline actions to prevent each risk from materializing or to reduce it if it is does. You find out that some team members do not, they form habits of not attending meeting. Whenever you call meeting, they don't attend. You must find a plan to prevent it from happening. It's either you become set a disciplinary action. If you fail to attend a meeting without any strong reason, then you lose 3 hours of your pay rate. And if your pay is $40 or £40 an hour, you lose 3 hours. You know what? You're already losing 100 and something quid. So that can be another way. So that is an action that we make everybody to sit up. We must find a way to reduce the risk from materializing. So for assumptions, document contingency plan in case any assumptions prove invalid. Like I told you, assumptions. We assume that £10,000 is enough to implement a CRM system when we are planning. That's what we captured in our project charter, where our budget is 10,000. If you are a very wise project manager, you are not going to plug the whole 10,000 into the project. As a wise man, you plan around 7,000 and then put 3,000 aside for the rainy day. What we call that 3,000, can anybody tell us what that 3,000 is? Crescent. What do we call this 3,000? You have £10,000 to plan your project. £10,000, and you decided that I'm a guru in project management. I need to put £3,000 away and plan my project with 7,000. Although we've agreed that is 10. What do we call that 3,000 you are putting away?
Contingency money.
Please, if I do not ask you, do not answer my question. I call a question. If you do it some other time in my class, I'm going to throw you away. I don't like I do know people in my class. Follow the class should be organized. Okay, we call it contingency.
Can you call it this enough?
Here is a contingency. Call it the best language for you can see here. I've already captured it here as contingency plan. You see it here as I'm pointing at it. It's called contingency. Contingency is not only on the budget. Contingency can equally be applied on your timeline. If you have 6 months to implement a CRM system, customer relationship management system, we have 6 months. Don't plan on 6 months. Plan to implement it within 4 months. That's the way. That is another contingency plan. So you see, these are 2 assumptions we talk about. We assume that 6 months is enough, and we equally assume that 10,000 as the budget is enough. These are two assumptions. So we plan contingency on all our assumptions. If that our assumption fails, that's how you plan it. So contingency, that's very soon you are going to be asked, because once you guys start your project plan, I want to say that.
Almost done.
All right. So if you have any question, write it down. You know, once we finish, it's time for question. You can raise your hand and ask a question. All right. Let's move. Track issues with detailed action plan for resolution. Every issue you have, if we say that issue is a risk that is already happened, you must have an action plan to resolve that issue. Whichever action plan, you must track it as you are resolving. You must have a plan. Assign an ownership to every raid, whether it's risk, whether it's assumption, whichever, you must assign ownership. Ownership is extremely important. You don't just leave it there. It's a collective effort. Yes, it's a collective effort, but somebody must be responsible. Somebody must own that risk. Somebody must be accountable. So you must designate a team member to manage, to be responsible for each risk or issue or assumptions or dependencies which you captured. The risk owner will monitor and report on the risk status and execute mitigation action. It doesn't mean that once an ownership, for instance, if we assign an ownership to Crescent, that yes, everybody will abandon Crescent to work on this risk. No. It means that it's now the duty of the Crescent to call us meeting and lead a process, lead a meeting, lead action to manage this risk. Monitor and update regularly. Whether it's assigned to a different team member, you a project manager, it's their duty to monitor and update regularly. Review the rate log or risk register during the project management meeting, and update as new risk issues or dependence emerge. So when you are reporting on how that risk is managed, yes, you come with tell you guys, I'm happy to tell you guys that we have finally addressed this issue that has been bothering us. The risk is now closed. Yeah, everybody will be happy. Now, it's equally that time, if there's any other risk or issue you identified, it's now time for you to update them that, yes, as we are closing this particular risk, we've captured another risk, and you tell them and you record it as well, and then assign another new ownership to that. So you continue to capture as you are resolving, you are capturing. Don't neglect any risk, no matter how small, because it can develop into something else. Close out risks that are no longer relevant and update status to reflect the current condition. Example, raid log for full trackle expansion projects. And here you capture risk, and you see here We have ID, risk ID, that's R01, and we have description, delay in vendor onboarding, and we have likelihood is high, impact high, owner, project manager, mitigation stroke action, prioritize key vendors, initiate earlier onboarding. Status, we are still working on it, is open. Assumptions. A01, sufficient vendors are available. Medium, that is the likelihood, and impact, moderate, and who is the ownership, business analyst. Mitigation, and vendor analysis before expansion. Validated means closed. It has validated it. Issues. I01, low customer satisfaction in new areas, medium, high, and owner is customer support, and mitigation, analyze complaints and adjust as service quality. And here, like I say, the best way is just say open. Open and in progress is the same thing. So let's be like to be consistent. Just use and dependency 0, 0, D001. Reliance on delivery partner, and likelihood high, impact moderate, owner logistic lead, and mitigation stroke action, establish partnership within reliable vendor, and is still open. Yeah, so that's you see here we capture not only risk but as well risk and their dependency. So if you want to manage this with just a risk register, risk register alone, you see here risk ID. It's not risk ID, not if you come over here, is we call it element, that is RAID element. Let's just RAID element. So it's no longer RAID element because it's not only risk. And you come here is only risk. So we capture with risk ID and we have R01, risk 02, risk 3, risk 4. And slow onboarding, unreliable local delivery partner, platform downtime due to high demand, budget overrun in initial stage, and we have category operational logistics, high, medium, high, mitigation plan, initiate vendor selection process early, risk owner, project manager, this one high, partner with experienced provider and track metrics, risk owner logistics, lead, and you find out that all of them here, this is open, mitigated means closed. Closed, open, and that's it. Budget overrun, finance, medium, moderate, set aside contingency fund for unforeseen circumstances, which is what we've just discussed now. That is the contingency we just talk about. You see, the mitigation plan, if you have budget overrun, if you want to capture this under RAID, this is not going to be a risk. But if we are not using RAID, we can capture it as a risk. If we are using a RAID, we can capture this as a assumption. So set a contingency fund. If you have 10,000, use 7,000 to run your project. Keep 3,000 for unforeseen circumstance. Benefits of using RAID: log or risk, clear documentation, maintain a record of all project risk, issues, assumptions, and dependencies. Risk visibility: high critical project risk and assign responsibility for each. It means all the time you are sure that somebody is working on all the risk and you are capturing risk that's happening. Proactive management: enable team to identify and respond to risk before they escalate. Enhance communication: keep stakeholders informed on potential challenges and mitigation efforts the team are putting on. And conclusively, risk management through tools like RAID or risk register is vital to ensure project success. Like you see here, I told you guys we have two tools here, but me, I use RAID log. Or if you see here, whichever one you want to use RAID. If you want to use risk, or you find a place you are working, they are using risk, you want to talk them to use RAID, they refuse. You continue to follow them. Don't say you do not know, you've never even heard if anything called risk register. There is risk register, there is RAID log. All of them are very good, but it's depending on how your team want to do it. But I prefer RAID log because it's a very scalable tool to manage risk. Then we have this RPN, risk priority number, where I say how we can prioritize our risk. Risk priority number is a numerical score used in risk management to prioritize risk based on their severity, their likelihood of happening, that's occurrence, and detectability. It helps determine which risk requires immediate action. How do we calculate RPN? You see, RPN is equal to severity times likelihood times detectability, and equal to that's how we get the RPN, where severity S is impact if the risk occurs. So for you to get it, it's not mathematics at this point. You have a team, you and your team, you use a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is let's say the lowest and 5 is the highest. This is how you get all this. So there is no automation to generate all this. The main thing is once you arrive at this point, when you want to get the RPN, you times these 3 severity, likelihood. But to get on this level, your team will say, you ask everybody to vote. What do you think is the impact of this? Some will say 2, some will say 3, some will say 4. So you come up, if you guys are like 5, you come up with the average. So the average of that could be 4. If that's the case, it means you out of in a scale of 1 to 5, you got 4. You know, then you come to likelihood, which is probability of the risk. You use the same scale, 1 rare and 5 frequent. If you come to the detectability, you use a scale of 1 to 5 as well. So that is it. If you have, for instance, after everything, you come up with 4 as severity and 3 as possible and 4 as detectability based on your calculation or based on your team voting in this area, you've already come up with this severity. So if you want to get the RPM, all you need to do is then you times this by 4 by 3 by 4. That you get 48. So the RPM is now 48. So then 48 is high. If the overall RPM is 50. So 50, anything that crosses half of the 50 will be critical. Anything below the 50, maybe say at 25 is high. Then below is medium. And 1 to 15 is now low. You see the way you come about this risk priority number we have here. So that's how you come about it. All right. That is me for you tonight. And I've shown you a live red log template. You can take this around. It's a very powerful template. Very good template. Very powerful. So add it to your portfolio management, where you'll be using. Some of you are very interested in, portfolios. If you are working in Upwork, these are some of the things you might want to showcase your competency in project management, skill potential, hiring manager. You have the tools, you have all the documents, everything it takes to crush a project. You are there. So when they see all these tools, they've seen your project charter, they've seen your red log, they've seen your project plan, and they say, yeah, they start inviting you, and you start licking hand in dollars. Question time. All right. The whole class has gone asleep. King.
Good evening, Mr. Charles, and
Yeah,
thank you
good
for today's.
evening, Crescent. Please put yourself on mute. All right. Enobong King.
Yes, please. I'm right here.
Hmm.
Okay, so my question actually has to do with risk and assumptions. I really do not seem to understand the difference between the two. I don't know if you can throw more light on that.
Risk and assumptions.
Yes, please.
Okay, let's say now, Enobong, you're about to start a project, and we give you your budget, £10,000, and we tell you this project is going to be 6 months project. These are two things that are certain, you know now. Yeah? Okay. We've addressed that. Okay, another thing is that we've equally said in this project, we are going to be needing a business analyst. You must work with a business analyst. That is what? Another assumption. And this is a very big project. Yeah? So, from the beginning, there are things we assume that are going to happen on this project. Tell me 3 things that we have assumed that are going to happen.
Okay, one would be needing about £10,000 to work on the project.
Yes.
So the tenure of the project can last up to 6 months.
Yes.
So we definitely need the services of a business analyst.
Yes. We call it assumption because anything can happen, and these things we assume that are going to take place might not take place. Are you understanding me? We assume that 10,000 is going to be enough. And 1 month after we start this project, we had a COVID-19 and they say we are going to shut down the whole city for 6 months. Nobody is going to work and you people are going to be doing this in the office. Time is going, you're trying to find a way and, so now your timeline has been affected. It cannot happen in 6 months again. It's now a risk or is now an issue. Are you getting it? Now, that 10,000, you find out that 10,000 is going to be enough. Because let's say the project team, all of you are permanent workers of that company. So while all of you are sitting at home, salary is doing what? Going. Everybody is getting their salary. You didn't ask company to shut their listing. As a matter of fact, we have some of us, let's use local government. When the COVID-19 happened, everybody go home and their salary is just going. So now we find out that that money is no longer going to be enough for that project. And again, the business analyst that you started the project with, all of a sudden got another job with Microsoft and decided to leave you guys. Is that not a big situation? That's another risk. So these are things that we agree that is going to happen. But if it doesn't happen again, wahala don burst. So what is wahala in projects? Wahala. What is wahala in projects?
I'm not sure I understand that. You mean what is
Where are you?
Wahala?
Where are you from?
Oh, yes, I'm a Nigerian.
So what is wahala then? What is wahala?
Issues.
So wahala don burst now. So when the project manager, when the business analyst leave the project, the money is no longer enough, the timeline. So is it not a double wahala for you, the project manager? Not just wahala, but triple wahala for you. So that is risk issue. So that's dependencies. That is assumptions. Assumptions are things we agreed, assume that is going to happen from the beginning. As we are progressing, it's becoming glaring that it's not going to happen. So, are you
Thank you. I
clear?
understand that. Very clear. Thank you.
Okay. So, any other question? All right, everyone. Project risk is this is a big. We don't play around with it because once it happens, it can shake the project. Can or if you are grounded with your team, if you have a culture, risk management culture, no matter how the risk, you will try to stand it. What is the culture? Once you start, have a meeting, just tell the team members, guys, we are going to be having our regular raid meeting, 4 o'clock, Monday, every week. So every week, you have what we call raid meeting with your team. So constantly, you guys are working on the project risk and resolving it, capturing new ones. It does not matter the kind of project methodology, because we are coming to project methodology. Whichever project methodology, there is a risk management culture. If you are working on agile environments, there's what we call daily stand-up. For those of you who knows agile very well, don't worry, we are coming to agile. So they will tell you that daily stand-up is a daily meeting where the team members will come together. Every team member will come and say, this is what I did yesterday, this is what I'm doing today, this is where I'm struggling. And as you are saying that, the Scrum Master will be recording what everybody is saying. From that, the Scrum Master will understand where every team member is struggling, and the team member will take it upon him or herself to resolve the issue. That is another risk management in agile project. But this particular one is mainly we can use RAID to capture both in agile, both in waterfall. It's a very powerful tool that is very flexible. So that's it. But just understand how to use any of these, but most importantly, RAID, because it's talking about other elements, not only risk. Thank you for joining, and see you here the same time tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, good night.
Thank you, sir.
All right.